how many of you have seen a pineapple and believe that you have like a pretty basic understanding of it? I mean, it's a fruit, right? You go to the grocery store, you get it, and you take it home and you eat it. How much more simple can it get? Wrong. Actually, pineapples are an important symbol that permeate throughout our entire culture. According to the 2017 Independent article, an author states that every millennial's house looks the same. Now, this author isn't talking about the furniture or the color that the walls are painted. She's talking about the decorations and the decorations of pineapples. Contrary to common belief, pineapples have an extraordinary history. Due to its historic rarity in the colonization era of the Americas, as time progressed, pineapples developed to become a complex symbol of status, wealth, and welcome. Pineapples have an interesting origin that is not well known. As detailed by the 2017 Sprouts Eats article, pineapples, or Ananas cosmosis if you want to get fancy, were first introduced to the European society on Columbus's second voyage to the West Indies. Now, pineapples, as they saw it, didn't look how they look today in the grocery store. They saw them in their natural habitat where they grow. So to give you kind of a visual of what these colonizers might have seen, pineapples, the spiky leaves on top, they grow on a 5-foot stack of these interesting leaves. And the fruit itself is not only one fruit, but it's a bunch of small, tiny berries growing together to make one fruit that looks like a pine cone, but tastes like an apple, hence the name pineapple. So now, the 2001 Flower and Garden article detailed how these fruits grew. So now that you actually know what they look like, you might be able to understand the colonists' reaction to it. I mean, it's a crazy looking fruit. So you might understand their obsession and their want to understand it better. The natives' usage in the West Indies actually caused it originally to develop into symbols. The 2015 Atlas Obscura article describes how Native Americans would hang pineapples in the doorway of their homes to represent welcome, as in, I am home and you are welcome to enter my house. They would hang the fruit in their door. Thus, the colonizers picked up on this representation in the symbols that the Native Americans used and started integrating it into their own culture and their own symbols. So in the common culture in America, pineapples represent welcome. The 2015 Scholastic Scope Commentary on Symbols of Status Throughout History also recognizes pineapples as a symbol of wealth. Pineapple is a fruit, right? Like we had already established. And fruits rot. So you can imagine that if you try to take a pineapple and put it on a boat in Columbus's time and sail it across the ocean all the way to England, the fruit would rot in that long journey across the ocean. So, although there was this fascination with the fruit, the colonizers were not able to ship it over to England easily. Thus, supply and demand were way out of proportion. More people wanted the pineapple than could get it. The aforementioned 2015 Atlas Obscura article estimates that the affluent families of the time would pay up to $8,000 for one pineapple. And these people did not just eat the fruit. Actually, they wouldn't eat it at all. They would have the fruit and bring it into their homes and display it on a pedestal to represent, hey, I'm wealthy enough, I can buy a pineapple. So it became a symbol of their wealth. And then families who couldn't afford this $8,000 pineapple would actually rent one for the night. So they would go to a pineapple vendor, they would take the pineapple to their house, and they would display it for whatever event that they had going on their home. And then they would take it back and return it to the vendor and pay them the fee for using the pineapple. So pineapple was an extraordinary symbol of wealth. So now you're probably wondering how this information relates back to you all. And in the beginning, when I mentioned that millennials use the symbols a lot. Well, today the fruit is still a very influential symbol to Americans. Just like it did in Columbus's time, the fruit still represents welcome. Probably if you think back a little bit to some of the homes that you've visited, you might have noticed pineapples popping up in houses. Pineapples are used to decorate many common household items such as wallpapers, napkins, and even can be incorporated in the structure of the home, all to represent welcome. The most famous example of this is the Dunmore pineapple described by the 2013 Atlas Obscura travel article. This house is located in Scotland, and it's a normal house. I mean, it's pretty fancy, but it's a house. And this house is decorated with a dome over the door, but it's not a normal dome. This dome is actually sculpted to look like a pineapple. So it's a pineapple sitting on top of this house. These people believed in this symbol so much that they incorporated the fruit into the structure of their home to make it seem more welcoming. In addition to still representing welcome, pineapples also still represent wealth. The 2017 article on Independent recognizes that pineapples represent the quality of a product. So subconsciously, buyers might be more inclined to buy a shirt or jewelry or anything with a pineapple printed on it than a pineapple, or not than a product without a pineapple on it. All because of the subconscious connection between pineapples and wealth. So now let's review what we have kind of talked about today. Now your eyes have been opened to the intriguing world of pineapples. You'll learn about their origin, what they represent, and how they still pertain to you today. Pineapples are an interesting fruit, unlike any other, and it developed into complex symbols that mostly go unnoticed by today's generation, although they still understand it. And hopefully, after today, you might have learned to recognize the symbols saturated in our world. And maybe even now, you might have noticed the subtle symbols in my own attire.